Hello everyone, this is Sergey Sputnikov and this is Ushanka Show, my channel about my own experience of life in the Soviet Union. I was born in 1971 in Kiev, Ukraine, so I have quite a bit of experience of living in the USSR. And today's video will be slightly unusual. I'll answer some of your questions from my previous video, the day the Soviet government stole all our money, about 1991 Pavlov money reform. And then there'll be a little bit of show and tell of some artifacts from that era. So that's going to be an interesting show, so stay tuned. First of all, I would like to explain again the translation of my mother's statement. So when I was trying to convince her to withdraw our savings from the state savings bank, Sberbank or Sberkassa, as we used to call it, and buy American dollars, she replied that «Государство нас не обманет». The state won't screw us. That will be more proper translation. Some people didn't catch an exact translation, so the state won't screw us. That's what my mom told me. So we didn't withdraw the money, and my family lost all their life savings, which was about 6,000 rubles. So this is what happened. There was also quite a few questions about, was that a shock therapy? No, it was not. That happened later. I believe in 1992 in Russia, so that's after the Soviet Union was dissolved. Similar things happen in Ukraine, and I'm planning to make videos on that topic too. If you follow my channel, you may notice I kind of try to do everything in a kind of like a timely manner. So I started from early 70s, my experience with housing, going to school, and now we are in 1990, 1991, like the final years of the Soviet Union. Then we're going to move on to my experience of living in independent Ukraine. I lived in Ukraine when it became independent all the way to 1998. So I started coming to the United States in 1995, and I wrote books about my experience, American Diaries 1995, 1996. You can get those books if you're interested. So anyway, so right now it's 1991, the final year of the Soviet Union. So a quick refresher about Pavlov money reform of January of 1991. There was a surprise confiscation style reform. So basically, Soviet economy had way too much cash sloshing around. About 133 billion rubles in cash was in the Soviet economy in the hands of the Soviet people. And so, and the proportions were about 3 rubles were chasing 1 ruble of goods. So that's really not good. But of course, in a normal economy, it would create quite an impressive inflation. But when the government control prices, it's shortage of goods, long lines, just money chasing goods. It's just how it works when your prices don't correlate, demand and supply doesn't correlate in a planned economy. You got prices down low, money up here, and so money chasing. So anyway, it's just kind of quick and dirty explanation. So $133 billion. So the Comrade Pavlov decided that by making this surprise reform and quickly swapping in just 3 days all large ruble bills, 50 ruble bill and 100 ruble bill. And that time average salary was kind of pushing 200 rubles a month. So only 1,000 rubles could be exchanged, or 3,000, I already don't remember, in 3 days. In large bills, and they printed brand new currency for that purpose. Unfortunately, I don't have it yet. I'm planning to buy it on eBay. They're not expensive. You can get a 50 ruble bill for about $2, 100 ruble, same thing. But what's interesting, if you look on the back of that bill, it still has that famous message that it tells you in 15 languages, 50 rubles, 50 карбованців, 50 рублей in Belarusian and so on. So that still remained on the new currency, 50 ruble and 100 ruble currency. But they also printed smaller bills, and this is where it's really bizarre, because that message disappeared. Okay, I kind of distracted a little bit. So back to the Pavlov reform. So out of 133 billion, Pavlov decided that by making this surprise confiscation reform, they could confiscate, well, wasn't confiscating, not allowing you to exchange your money They were planning to get rid of about 51 billion rubles, so a third of all the currencies. They well, they knew how much money in what bills, right? Because it's a central bank. So he planned that about a third of this whole amount will be gone. Even more than third. If you have 133 billion in circulation and you're gonna confiscate it, literally cancel 51 billion, so they're like, yeah, we can instantly fix our situation with this inflation brewing problem that have 3 rubles of cash chasing 1 ruble of goods. We can just do it. But what happened as a result, they managed to cancel only 14 billion rubles, still huge amount of money. People lost tons of money. I heard one story. One of my subscribers from Russia told me that his father just sold his used car for, I don't know, 10,000 rubles. He was really happy. And then reform happened and he lost 9,000 rubles out of that 10,000. He had a heart attack and died a couple of years later. So people burned really bad. But most people learned in advance and found the ways to dodge these reforms. So it was a pretty much, you could say, a fiasco if you plan to confiscate 51 billion, but only got 14 billion. It didn't work because the cost of printing new money and swapping the cash was probably astronomical as well, several billion rubles. No surprise there. All right, now a show and tell part. So I'll show you some of the currency that I have. So this is classic. This is Soviet 1 ruble, 1961 issue. Well, it was printed over the years, but that's the 1961 style. It was year they never changed. Like here in America, I know every year they print new bill. There'll be a new date and new signature. No signatures on the Russian Soviet bills. Just this 1 ruble of 1961 style, and like this one you see is almost like really good condition. And this is the message I'm talking about. There's 15 languages that repeat the same wording. 1 ruble, 1 ruble, 1 karbovanets, then you got Belarusian and so on. And if you look through the light, the paper has the watermarks and it has a star. And also, this is why ruble has a nickname Woody, Derevyanny, because it kind of looks like a wooden color, right? So this is 1961. And they are pretty small, as you see. I mean, I have pretty big hands, but Soviet currency was pretty tiny. And this is, all right, so let's do 1961. And this is 1991. So as you see, it got greener. So it got a refresh kind of thing. There's a different watermark. There's no stars. And this is the biggest difference. This is what I'm talking about. Now it's just the word один, 1. No more 15 languages. So this is kind of weird. Soviet Union still existed in 1991, but it almost looks like they started printing currency expecting Soviet Union to disappear. So this is pretty wild. Okay, so this is 1 ruble. New 1991 style and 1991 and 1961. 30 years apart, same size, same design, slightly different color scheme. And no more 15 languages. Okay, so that's the smallest bill we had. All right, our next bill was 3 rubles. So it's kind of bizarre, right? In America, it's $1, $5. There's a $2 bill, but we had a 3 ruble bill. I think this is actually a really good looking design. Unfortunately, I don't have 1991. It's only 1961. Apparently, 1991, they didn't print a lot of them, so they're pretty rare. I'm gonna try to get some, but same, got stars if you look through the light for the watermarks, and the same 15 language statement, and it's gone on a new type. But this is a 3 ruble bill, and I think I shared the recollection when I used to go to the library with my friends. So we were like teenagers, maybe 14, 15, and we went to the Central Republican Library for the Youth in Kiev, and there was a really attractive young librarian girl, probably fresh out of college, so older than us. And so we were like a group of us, 3 or 4, so we felt kind of brave. So we were, being playful. I don't know how to say it correctly. And she was polite and patient. And then she told us, "You guys, you are as green as a 3 ruble bill. Зеленые вы, ребята, как 3 рубля." And I was like, she really shut us down. So that's my recollection. Every time I see a 3 ruble bill, I'm thinking about that day when the girl told us that we were so green. All right, moving along, 1996, 1961 5 ruble bill. Once again, I think they're pretty attractive. This front part, back part not that much, but front part is done really well. Nice design. This bill is also in the almost uncirculated condition, so-called UNC. Once again, 15 languages message. And 1991. So once again, slightly different in color. You need to pay attention. We got this new stripe showed up, right? So it wasn't there on the 1961 bill. And 1991 has that stripe, a different watermark, and once again, no more 15 languages. So that's a 5 ruble. Okay, next one. This one, if you get as a birthday present, you're a lucky kid. 10 ruble bill. That's the first note that has a picture of Lenin. So from 10 rubles and up, Lenin was present now on our money. The nickname for this money is Chervonets. So 10 rubles is Chervonets, and we used to have a Chervonets has a gold backing, Zolotoy golden Chervonets. Back of it is okay. Front is nicer, I think. And you got your 15 languages again. And so once again, let's do the swap. 1961. Whoop, whoop, whoop. 1991. So slightly different color scheme. This is like monocolor, right? Just red. Now they added different colors. Once again, different watermarks. Let me see. This one actually has the same watermark. Just started. Interesting. And no more 15 languages. Well, a different color scheme. So this is 10 rubles was this is usually what my dad would bring as a salary. They'll be in 10 ruble bills, because most people were getting their monthly salary twice. So you got avance, like advance. So you have a 50% middle of the month and then 50% end of the month. So my dad was making around 180. So that's what he'll bring in 10 ruble bills. All right, we're moving along, and next from 10 rubles we go all the way right away to 25. So it's another kind of bizarre denomination, right? Don't have $20 bill, 20 ruble bills, it's 25. Once again, you have a Lenin. This one, I don't think I like design of 5 ruble bill or 3 ruble better than 25. Nothing jazzy. Once again, there's 15 languages. But then guess what? Good luck trying to find 1991. Apparently, they never printed them in large quantities. You can find some, which is like, specimens when they were designing. But so my guess, most of this currency was printed towards the end of 1991. So they even didn't bother to print 25 rubles. So that's a kind of rare item. If you try to find one, good luck. So this is kind of pretty much what I have on my hand. So then we have a 50 ruble bill and 100, which I'll show you on the pictures, but it's not mine. As I said, I'm planning to buy. And then this is a really bizarre bill. It's a 1,000 ruble bill from 1992, but it says that it's issued by Bank of the Soviet Union. So you still have Lenin, you still have a symbol of the Soviet Union, Gerb, right? A coat of arms. You got Bank of the USSR, but USSR is already gone in 1992, but it's still, so it's kind of like almost like an echo. It's a Soviet bill from not Soviet Russia anymore. It's really weird. I had several people correcting me, like, you said there was no 1,000, but it was a 500 and there was I'm not sure about 500. It maybe was printed in 1991, but this is 1992. So this is a odd duck. I'll put it that way. So yeah, I got that. I purchased like the whole bunch of currency a while back before the war. It's actually when people buy my books, I put little surprises. There's some other currency, but this is all Soviet rubles. Pretty rough shape, most of them, but I kind of do little presents for people who buy my books. All right, so now I have something else interesting. All right, so this is kind of jumping ahead in the timeline because now we'll be talking about the Soviet Union independent currency. But so remember I said the Soviet ruble was pretty tiny, so there's our Soviet Woody, and this is what replaced Soviet ruble in Ukraine. This is also 1991, but it says coupon, so it's a coupon. So that was a temporarily Ukrainian currency that lasted 5 years, and I'll be making separate videos on this topic. In hyperinflation, all the good stuff. Oh my goodness, that was pretty intense. But this is what replaced Soviet currency in Ukraine. And initially, the rate of exchange was like black market. That was real rate of exchange. It was 60 coupons for $1 American. When it was over, 5 years later, was 185,000 coupons per $1. So $5, $6, you'll have $1 million, right? So you just don't go shopping without $1 million in your pocket. So everyone was a millionaire in Ukraine. So I got more goodies to show you. Okay, so when I mentioned that in 1990 and especially in 1991, we started having these bizarre shortages, like specific items just will disappear. There's not for sale anymore, and it'll be like basically like sugar. So this what I kind of showed it once in my shorts. I kept this coupon. Unfortunately, I ripped it. I had it in a plastic envelope, and when I tried to remove it, it ripped. So this is invitation for my family to buy 3 kilos of sugar in 1991 in July. So Ukraine at that time was producing like 6 million tons of sugar a year. It was the biggest sugar producer in Europe and of course in the Soviet Union. And in capital Ukraine, the shortages got so bad that the Kiev, like local government, started issuing coupons and limiting how much sugar people can buy. And of course, part of it was the kind of echo from the Gorbachev anti-alcohol reform when they cut down drastically production of alcohol, wine, beer, vodka. So people started moonshining, so that made sugar in short supply. But this is 1991. It's almost 6 years later after the reform, so that's a different reason. And I was trying to figure out why, and the only thing that makes sense is Gorbachev government, they attempted to make the economy work, kind of make a hybrid economy. So they decided to start liberalizing, let the prices go. So before there was a state-controlled prices on everything, right? Wholesale prices, retail prices, everything was, decided by government, which makes me think, holy cow, can you imagine how hard it is to run socialist economy when you have to tell every factory how much things to make, how many cars, how many bicycles, how much sugar? It's insane. Like, it makes so complicated to run economy because you tell everyone how much to make, what prices. It's insane to think about it. But anyway, so Gorbachev tried to fix, like, okay, maybe we will improve situation if companies will, start selling at the prices that they want, have a deal with the wholesaler, whatever. And, they know their cost and they know what they demand, and they just have договорные цены. So it's like a deal prices, not set prices, but whatever market price almost. No? They don't want to use the word market. Договорные, so it was like a deal. So you make a deal, but then they were afraid to piss off Soviet people, consumers, so the retail price remained fixed. So wholesale prices jumped while retail prices remained artificially low in most cases, right? So it created this bizarre situation that wholesale part wasn't interested to sell to retail because their cost was higher than fixed retail. And so that was pretty much kind of like almost paralyzed the whole retail, because if they got it wholesale at high prices, then they tried to find a way to sell it past the chain of the stores so they can make profit. So I think it was one of the reasons why we had just huge mess in 1991. Is just you cannot be partially pregnant, right? So it's like if you let go the prices, you cannot just let go wholesale, but you keep the retail locked. So I think that's what created a huge issue with the supply chain. And then a lot of people think it was a conspiracy that the government did it on purpose to make Soviet people mad about socialism. That's why they were so excited for that, for socialism being gone. I don't subscribe to that point of view, but I think it was just dumb on their part. They tried to fix the problem by just, fixing wholesale, but not understanding how the whole chain supply works. But anyway, I think it's why we end up with this silly talone invitation to buy sugar. There was invitation to buy, I don't think salt, was some other like butter. So yeah, that was pretty crazy. And I have one more thing for you. So once again, it's 1991. I even don't know how to describe this. So this is a coupons. It's called Kartka Spoživача, so that's a consumer's card. So each coupon here, that's a cutoff. Just for 1 ruble, 1 karbovanets in Ukrainian. They got some for 3. So in order to control goods and to kind of fend off the extra cash that's still sloshing around, like it's pretty much every area was protecting their own goods. Like they got the goods and now they like, okay, only local people allowed. So this is for Ukraine. That's Ukrainian one, Ukrainian USSR. So you have to take this with you. So if you want to buy something for 1 ruble, you go to the store, you give them money, and you give them your card paper. The lady will take scissors and cut off this 1 karbovanets, and will take your money and will cut this off. So it's like a secondary currency, and she will just has this like a tall needle on a wooden base, and she will cancel this little thing, little coupon, takes your money and sells you goods for 1 ruble. So someone who doesn't have it wasn't allowed to purchase, right? So this is for the months of June 1991. So it's already still summer, right? But we're already having problems. And every month, everyone at places of work, together with their pay, with their salary, will get. So this is Žovteń, this is October. Same year, 1991, for 75 ruble. So once again, 1, 3, and 5. So that's the coupons. So whatever you buy, you need to bring this piece of paper. And can you imagine what a nightmare it was in retail? We had no checks. It was cash only, no cards in 90s. You people, normal cash plus all these coupons that people bring, and make sure they're not fake. And, it's actually in the middle, has a space to show which company issued. So like whatever factory you work at, and your last name, and the manager name, and who is like a bugalter, so who is like the, oh my goodness, accountant. So, and it has an ink stamp, right? So it's pretty wild, right? So this is kind of was like 1991. This is when this Soviet locomotive was just spilling oil, steam, wheels were falling off. So that whole system was just kind of like final chaga, we stopped moving. And it wasn't just in Ukraine, of course, you may understand. A friend of mine was kind enough for me to send this. So this is from Belarus. At that time it was called Belarusia. Now it's called Belarus. So that's Belarus. Same thing. They just made it look kind of easier to read, right? You have 1, 3, 5, and 10 rubles. Same, says Republic of Belarus, 75 rubles. Kartka spoživacя, same thing. Your last name, where it was issued, so kind of standard. So this is what was going on in the Soviet Union in its final months. It's just retail was a nightmare. This is 75 rubles, right? So TV was 600. So picture you need to bring like 10 of this with you, collect them, so you can buy a TV. So besides, cash, you need to bring all this. And people, had bags and bags of these canceled coupons that had to burn. So yeah, 1991, I mentioned many times, like perestroika was fun, especially glasnost part. We started getting rock bands from the West. They started, you can start buy magazines, Bravo and others from Germany, and you can buy a long plays, with these foreign bands. And there was so much fun. The newspapers, you can start reading. TV was fun to watch. But then it was like after party, right? Like a hangover started like 1991. This is like a first signs like, dude, party is over. There's going to be bad hangover. But of course, things got way worse in like 1992, 93. That was just a real nightmare. A lot of people got rich. We say в мутной воде рыбка водится, right? In the murky waters, there is a fish that thrives. And there was a lot of fish. A lot of people who were doing murky deals in the Soviet Union, that's the ones that really did well when everything went downhill. They took advantage of the situation. They got rich. But we'll be talking about it later. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this presentation of my show and tell. I apologize, like I don't have all the currency. And I'm glad I learned this because it's like, I swear to God, I don't remember 25 rubles in the 1991 style. And I researched and like, oh crap, I never knew about it. But anyway, and just once again, this is the Woody, деревянный. If you want to impress someone your coworker who's from Soviet Union, you can ask him like, hey, сколько деревянных? How many Woodies did you make back at home? So anyway, thank you again for watching Ushanka Show. Once again, this is Sergey Sputnikov, and we'll talk to you soon. До побачення. Goodbye.